Welcome to this demonstration of the Stages Report Wizard. Begin by clicking on the Start button. You can certainly use the Stages Report Wizard to create a My Stages Report folder, but for this demonstration we already have a folder with lots of data in it, so we will work on creating a report from that. We will go to our spot where we have our data saved and tell the Report Wizard to work with that. The Report Wizard finds all of the learners that are inside, and we can then begin on deciding who we're going to write a report about and populating the report with data. If you have a learner that has data across many stages, you have the opportunity to choose which of these stages you'd like to write a report about, or which skill area you'd like to write a report about. If you have a learner that has data in only one skill area, as Michael does, and that's the learner we're going to write a report about today, when you click OK here, the Report Wizard takes you straight to that skill area that you're going to be writing about. We're going to write about Michael's progress in learning about rhyming words, recognizing and reading rhyming words. So let's take a look at the data that we've captured so far. Click on my Reports button. To annotate one report on one sitting, and why might you want to do this? You might want to annotate a report because something remarkable happened in a day, or something of concern happened in a day, or perhaps you don't recall what happened that day, so you'd like to click on one of these reports and open that up. This gives you the date, what the environment was, what the content was, and then what your data was. You can certainly make a comment. Here is a comment, and make a PDF of that and email it home, or anything that you might like to do with one single sitting. And it just takes a few seconds and you've quickly generated a report for the mom who would like to hear from you once every so often. What we'll do here is go ahead and add all of our reports into our summary and take a look at Michael's progress over time in that skill area. Let's begin by generating our graphs. The Report Wizard will let you work with bar graphs or line graphs. This is the same data represented two different ways. I like these, so we'll work with these, but you can pick whichever one you like. Begin by putting in the IEP goal for that skill area. In this case, it was 90% for his accuracy of rhyming words. Did he reach it? Well, yes, he did. We can see that indicated on our graph now. Notice that there's an arrow here that indicates the direction in which the data should go. You have the option to hide that arrow or keep that arrow. Same graph with just the hiding or showing of an arrow that indicates the direction, the preferred direction that the data should go for accuracy is up, right? You can make a comment about the accuracy, and I'm just going to put a few stray characters in there because we have, I want to move us along in this demonstration. The next option for a graph is the time on task, and we can see here that while Michael has gotten more accurate in that skill area, his time on task is reduced. That means he's getting more comfortable. So you can make that comment here. The last type of graph that you can generate is the number of tries. Well, how many tries do you get if you're using this as a test or a quiz or an assessment? We only want one to tell us whether or not can he get it on the very first try, and sure enough, on January 14th he was able to do that. So we might want to make a comment about that. These three graphs gives us the accountability over time, or a good picture over time of how this learner has performed in that skill area. Sometimes you want to know, though, what the actual content was so that you can design some more teaching or clinical intervention. So let's take a look at a content mastery table. On this table, it gives us the range of dates of when the data was collected, the list of the content areas, the words themselves, and then his average over time. So you might want to make the comment that he could use a little bit more practice in these words that are rhyming, yet they are spelled differently. Now let's make our summary. Here is a list of all of the elements that we've collected so far. We can add them in one at a time. Gee, I'd like the date that I created it on first. Then maybe I'd like to put my learner profile in, so I'll add that in. Oh heck, let's just put all of the data that we have, all of the elements that we have. And we can move those elements around if we would like to. Maybe we would like to have where the report files are located higher up in our summary. So we can just click and select that one and move it up and down, each element up and down by our arrow keys on our keyboard. What I've done is already created a summary for Michael that we can open up again so that you could see what it would look like when it's done. The report wizard brings up each of the things that you've made comments on so that in case you want to add to your comments, you can certainly do that. Here is what the learner profile looks like. It's a place for you to put his demographic information, and you can make that standard if you want to use it across other learners. A place for you to type in his profile. Then we can preview. Oh, here are the notes and recommendations. This is actually a template that you fill in based on these prompts that are already here. We looked at the observation forms from his actual stages assessments. We looked at the recommendations that we might want to make here, and we can add on to that. Let's add flashcards in as an off-computer practice strategy. There we go. So what the report wizard will do would be to take these comments and phrases that we've typed in as a result of looking at each of the prompts and turn it into a lovely narrative. Let's take a look at that. Let's preview our summary that we've created here. Here is the header. Here is the learner profile that we typed in that I just showed you. Here are the IEP objectives off of the template that I showed you for notes and recommendations. Here are the observations from that template. Here are the prompts and then my comments that follow. So it gives you an idea of the narrative that's created as a result of our just filling in some phrases underneath each of those areas in the template. Here are our observations, and then here are our recommendations, skills to practice. And here's where we typed in flashcards for off-computer activities. The next page has our accuracy graphs and our comments. The next page has our time on task and our comments. The next page has our number of tries and our content mastery table. This is where the files are, and then here is a place for the person who wrote the summary to sign their report. So we have a 6-page, 5+ page narrative that the report wizard has generated for us based on the data that we've captured. The key is to have lots of data that you've captured using stages so you can write a very detailed activity summary. And that's the Stages report wizard.